In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use decreases for shaping in Mosaic Stitch. I have a little example here of a plain stockinette stitch fabric in one color showing the most ordinary way to make decreases around neck edges or armholes. And that is, on the right edge you would use SSKs, and on the left edge you would use knit two togethers. And these create what we call blended decreases or blended shaping around an edge. This could be a V-neck or the beginning of the armhole shaping or a U-neck, anything like that. So we're going to talk about how you would do that in Mosaic Stitch. In color work in general, this type of decreasing interrupts the color work pattern, and that applies to Mosaic Stitch too. So what we do with color work that works the best, in my opinion, is to reverse these two shapings. So on this side you would do a knit two together, on this side you would do an SSK, and that is called full-fashioned decreasing. So we're going to do that on our little swatch. I've got a swatch started here, and I'm ready to work row 13 up here. Let's say that we want to start our shaping. This first column is the first stitches on the edge, so we're going to place the decrease in so it will be in the second stitch in, so that if we have to seam this, we have a nice area to work our seam. So if we did that, we would be doing a knit two together and pulling this stitch on top of this stitch. So this column would basically disappear for the rest of the work. On the opposite side, we would work an SSK, and we would work that SSK in this stitch, which would pull it over this stitch. This column would disappear. So let's do that on our work and see how it looks. So here we are, ready to work row 13. And it says we're going to work one in the solid color, the dark color, and then we're going to do our knit two together. And that's going to pull this stitch right on top of this one. So this stitch is basically disappeared. It's not going to be there. So we're going to knit one, and then we're going to knit two together. So you can see how the white stitch is disappearing underneath the red stitch. That column is now gone. So now we're going to knit across the rest of that line till we get to the other edge. You can do the same for the white rows. I just chose the dark rows. I just choose one and I would stick with it. Slip one, and then we're going to knit one, two, three, four, and then this is going to be an SSK. This stitch is going to end up being on top of this one. This column will disappear. Do an SSK. Whoops. We dropped the second stitch there. And then knit one. And then we're going to work back. And this is where following the colors on your needle is very helpful. You don't have to read the chart. So we're just going to work back. Following the stitches on the needle, we'll knit the reds and slip the whites. And then we're going to work a white row, and then we'll work another decrease row on the red so that you can see how that's going to look like. Now, on our white, let's look at our chart again. We don't have this column anymore. So we're no longer going to count those stitches, and we don't have this column over here either. So we're on white. We're going to start here. And we're going to knit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's our white. We're going to knit 5. We're on the row 15. And then we're going to slip 1, knit 1, slip 1, knit 3, slip 1, knit 1, slip 1, knit to the end. And on this swatch we're working the white in the stockinette and the red in garter, so since we're on a white row we're going to purl back. We'll just purl back and slip the red ones as we come to them. Here's a red one. Another red one. Now we're going to do another decrease row. So let's take a look at our chart. So now we're going to be on row 17 and we're going to decrease this stitch. So in order to decrease this stitch, we have to pull this stitch over on top of it. So this is going to be the SSK, and we're going to get rid of this entire column. And over here, this one's going to become, sorry, did I say SSK? It's a knit 2 together. This is going to be an SSK, and we're going to lose this column. So let's do that and see what it looks like. Working with the red now. Okay, here we go. So we're here. We're going to knit 1 in our red, and then we're going to work a knit 2 together in red, and then slip 2 white, etc. So knit 1 red, knit 2 together in the red, pull it up tight there, and then we're going to slip, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip. We're right here. We're going to slip the second stitch, and then we're going to make an SSK right there. And knit the last stitch. And we're going to work back. This is our garter row. And we'll do this one more time. I'm just going to work quickly to get through it so you can see the effect of how this maintains the stitch pattern. It's less interrupting than working blended decreases. So let's take a look here what we've got so far. So now our pattern is being maintained, but you can see that it's coming in at the edges. It's getting narrower, but we're not losing our stitch pattern. Let's do one more. So now we're going to work row 19 up here, and we're going to do 1 white, 3 more whites. So 4 whites, slip 1, knit 1, slip 1. So 4 whites. Now when you're doing decreases, let's say you were going to do some waist shaping. That doesn't work so well in this type of fabric, although it can be done, but it would interrupt the stitch pattern, the color work. But you can do it so that it looks neat. That's something I might make a video about later on. It's a little bit more complex than this, but you can get the idea here. Now we're going to slip this one, and we have to knit the last one because we're on the white. Now we're going to work these in stockinette. And then our next row is going to be another shaping row. Usually when you work shaping, you want to work the decreases at least one stitch away from the edge. That way, if you're going to be picking up stitches or seaming, you have something to work with. You have that stitch on the edge that will create your seam line or a place to pick up your stitches. Now we're going to be on row 21, and we're going to get rid of this column, so we're going to knit two together using this stitch, and we get rid of this column. We're going to go over here to the other side. We're going to get rid of this column, so we've got to do an SSK here, and that gets rid of that column. So let's work that and see what that looks like. So we're starting with our red yarn. So here we are. We're going to work that first red stitch, then we're going to do a knit two together, knit two, slip one. So let's do that. We knit the edge stitch, knit two together, knit two, slip one, and then we're going to knit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then do an SSK. Whoops, one more. The SSK. And then we're going to knit the last stitch. Then we're going to work our way back. These are going to be knits because we're working in garter stitch for the red. And slip that one and knit to the end. Now let's take a look, a close look. Here's our fabric, and you can see that we are maintaining the stitch pattern, the color work. It's just cutting in at the edges. And if you were going to seam, you would be seaming right after this first column of stitches here, right after these stitches. There's the first stitch, so your seam would go right there. You can see that's where our decrease is. Here's a decrease here, and here's a decrease here. So these are called full-fashioned decreases. The next video is going to be on how to make increases in Mosaic Stitch. Happy knitting! See you next time.